This conference will now be recorded.
Hello everyone. Good afternoon or good evening. I'm really sorry about this delay. So without further wasting any more time, let's continue to work with our topic. So today we are going to start with FTP server, the first server in the series of our server. See, basically when you want to share something from one location to all the clients in your environment, then we will go with server and client architecture. One machine we will be taking as a server, and all the other machines we will be treating as a client. So same way, when I want to share files from one centralized location to all the available clients in your environment, then we'll take one machine as a FTP server. We'll store files inside it. Now, whenever any client need a package, they would connect to FTP server and they can upload, download the files, whatever they want, right? Now, there are two types of FTP server, what we have to understand. First is active FTP. So what is this active FTP? See, in active FTP, the port numbers are fixed. Whenever client is connecting to the server, client would be using port number 21 that comes under TCP rule. Same way, whenever they are exchanging the data, uploading, downloading the data, they would be using port number 20 that comes under UDP. See guys, we have learned in networking class that TCP is a secure protocol. Username, password, authentications are there, so it is safe. But UDP is not that much secure. Suppose if there is a hacker or a sniffer there between the network and they have hacked port number 20, then what happens? If they hack that particular port number, then they can see what data we are exchanging. And secondly, they can add viruses, malicious scripts, malware, and all other dangerous thing into your download so that whoever downloads it, their system should get compromised. So this type of FTP is little bit risky. To overcome this issue, we uses another type of FTP, which is passive FTP. See, in passive FTP, the port numbers are a little bit different. For connectivity and communication, we always use port number 21, that is under TCP, which is safe and secure, which has username, password, authentication. Some security is there. But for exchanging the data or communication, we are not going to use a fixed port number 20. See here, with the communication of server and client, both will decide and choose any port number above 1024. For one transfer, it might use 1024. Another transfer, it might take 1028. Another transfer, it might take 20 something, right? So every file that we are transferring or every transfer what we are doing, it might communicate between server and client and automatically they will come to a conclusion and take a port 1024, 1028 like that. And that's the way the communication will happen. Now, even if there is a hacker between the network, they would not able to find that which port number we are using and our transfers would be secure, right? So this is passive FTP where your data ports or data connections are not fixed. Automatically on the communication between server and client, they are going to choose port number which is above 1024. Now, let us discuss the profile for FTP server. See, every server I have kept some profile. Profiles are nothing but important summary or important points related to that server. Usage of FTP server is to allow user upload or download files. And there is a limitation in FTP that FTP cannot upload, download directory. Only files can be shared with FTP. Directories cannot be shared. Remember that. And the package that is needed for FTP is VSFTPD. The service that must be running is again VSFTPD. VSFTPD stands for Very Secure FTP Daemon. Port numbers as discussed, 21 for connectivity and 1024 for data port, which is automatically chosen by server uh, for transferring the data. Configuration file. The main configuration file is etc vsftpd and vsftpd.conf. To control user connectivity, we have etc vsftpd user list and etc vsftpd ftp users. Now these two files will allow or disallow any user from using FTP services. And the home directory for FTP user is var FTP. Whenever you connect to FTP server by using FTP username or anonymous username, automatically you will be landing inside var FTP. That's the home directory for FTP user. So let's see how to configure an FTP server. Step number one, we need to check whether VS FTPD package is installed or not. If it is installed, that's fine. If it is not yet installed, then we have to install it. So from today onwards, we need both servers, both machines to be worked as server and client. So I'll be using 20 as a server and 30 as a client. Both machines are running. Let me log in. So let me check it out. RPM-Q VSFTPD. It says package is installed. Now, how it happened that the package is installed? Is it a pre-installed package? No. If you remember in DNF configuration, to share data with clients, we used FTP. So then this package got installed. So it is never a default package. We have to install it. If it is not installed, you can say yum or DNF install vsftpd. It is going to install that package for you. So in our case, as the package is already installed, we don't have to worry about this package vsftpd. So you see it says package is already installed, nothing to be done. Now once the package is installed, step number 2, you have to go to home directory var ftp, and inside it you may find another directory called public directory. Anything you want to share with FTP, you must go to var FTP pub, and here you should keep your data. For example, I'm creating some files. You can copy the data or you can create the data. So these 5 files I want to share with my clients. Now you see these 5 files are openly kept over here with another directory. So what happens over here is, if I keep my data like that, my data might get mixed with someone else's data. So I don't want my data to be openly kept like that. So what I'll do is I'll create one more directory here. For example, my data, and inside it, I'm going to move all the files, right? Now, if anyone wants to download my data, they have to go into my data folder and then they can download the data. So we have installed the package. For example, we came to var ftp pub and we kept some data inside it. Now, step number 3, what you have to do from Red Hat 8 till Red Hat 7, we don't used to do this concept, but from Red Hat 8, you need to go to etc vsftpd vsftpd.conf, the main configuration file of FTP. Inside it, you need to change this line. By default, anonymous underscore enable is set to no. You have to make it yes to allow anonymous user to connect to FTP. So by default, it would be no. We have to make it yes. During DNF configuration, we have already made it. That is the reason it is showing yes. Otherwise, it would be no. So as it is done, we don't have to worry about that. Then we must start the services. Systemctl status vs ftpd. You see it is active, running, and enabled. That means the service is up and running. How it is up and running? Because again, while configuring DNF server, we have started the services. Not only we have started the services, but if you check firewall command, in firewall, FTP services are allowed. So if it is not yet done, then we need to add FTP in firewall also. So after making the changes in configuration, we should start the services of FTP. And if services of FTP are started, then we need to add firewall rule. So you know what to do, right? To start the services, you can say systemctl enable service name hyphen hyphen now. And to add service in firewall, firewall command add service, service name permanent. And don't forget to reload the service. Now guys, you can take another machine as your client. Now client can be Windows, client can be Linux or Unix, any flavor of Unix, any flavor of Linux, any version of Red Hat, right? But I would like to test the communication with a browser. Don't use Internet Explorer or Google Chrome because they are not supporting FTP connectivity through browser, right? But Firefox is still supporting. So I'm going with FTP and the IP address 192.168.10.20. You see, I'm able to connect. You can go into public directory and you can find my data. Click on my data and you can see files. Now you can just right click and save the data if you want to save it. Okay, now what I'm going to do is instead of browser, I'm going to use some other machine as my client. So we have 30 machine as our client. So let us use that 30 machine to be working as a client. 20 is our server and 30 will be our client. Now on the client side, I'm going to check one package is installed or not. Which package? FTP. Observe, I'm not using VSFTP. I'm using FTP. So on the client, FTP command package should be there. So by default, FTP command is not installed. If you run just FTP enter, it says command not found. But as DNF is configured, it would try to search and tell you that if you install this package, this command will work. So let's see, will it find and tell us? Yes. It says if you install FTP package, the command FTP will work. Would you like to continue? Yes. Guys, if you don't want this type of installation, you can say no and say DNF install FTP. So I'll say yes, install the package. So DNF is installing this package for us. Now if I say rpm-q ftp, you'll find that ftp command is installed. Now you try ftp 192.168.10.server IP. So it says what name you want to continue. I'll say I want to continue with the root username. You see, it says permission denied. So by default, when you are working with FTP server, root access is disabled for security reason. You can connect with any user you like, but not with root. Root is by default blocked in FTP. So if I cannot connect with root, then what is the other user I can connect with? The most commonly allowed user is anonymous. That's the reason we made the change in configuration file. Now, anonymous is a very limited privilege user. Without our permission, this guy cannot upload the data or download the data. An anonymous user will be jailed in var FTP location only. They cannot change the location to TMP, OPT or any other location. So either you can type the full name anonymous or you can use a short name FTP, anything you like. I'm going with a short name. And these anonymous users does not have any password. So you type anything, it will say okay. Or if you leave it empty also, it would say okay, right? So it says login successful. Okay. All right, now where you are, it says you are in slash, but that is not slash. If you do ls, it is showing you that you are able to view only public directory. So where we are, see on the server side, you have connected to var FTP and there you are only able to see public directory. So when we connect with FTP or anonymous user, automatically you will be landing in var FTP folder and you will only able to see public directory inside it as of now. Now if I go into public directory, do ls and you can see that my data is available. Now let me go into my data and do ls. See, every time I'm doing ls, it is telling us that we are working on a passive mode. By default, only passive mode is installed. Active mode is outdated, right? There is no passive FTP available anymore. Whatever we are working is passive, no active is available. Now guys, as you can see that there are some files available here. I want to download the first file. See, to download any file on command line, we use a command called get. To upload, we'll use put. To download, we'll use get. So I'll say get followed by file name. When I say get file name and hit enter, you see that the file will be downloaded now. So it says that the file has been downloaded successfully. Now guys, on the client side, in which location these files are getting downloaded? See, there is no special location on the client where the data will be downloaded. Simple logic is there while connecting to the server in which location you were, data will be downloaded to same location. Suppose at the time of connectivity to server, I was in slash root. So data will be downloaded in slash root. While connecting, you were in OPT, data will be downloaded in OPT. So at the time of connectivity, in which location you were at client side, automatically data will be downloaded to same location. Now, if you check where you are on the server, it says pub my data. To check the client side location, you can say exclamatory mark and pwd. So it says on the client side, you are on slash root. To check server side listing, you can say ls. To check out client side listing, you can say exclamation ls. So basically guys, you are in slash root and inside it you can see ftp1 file has been downloaded. So this is the way how you can check your file is downloaded or not. Now let us say that I would like to change my location now. I don't like to download my data in my current location. I want to download it maybe in OPT. So to change the location without disconnecting from FTP, you have to use LCD. Exclamation will not help you in this scenario. You have to use LCD command. LCD stands for local change directory. To what? To OPT. So it says now your local directory is OPT and all the data will be downloaded to that location. You just check it out, do ls, and you can see the content of that directory. Now whatever files you will be downloading will be downloaded in OPT folder. Okay, all right. Now let us say that I want to download multiple files. I'm not interested to download a single file. I want to download 2 files or 3 files. So in order to download multiple files, you have to use a command mget, multiple get. So I'll say multiple get which file? FTP1, FTP3, and FTP5. So 3 files will be downloaded, right? Or if you want to download all the files, then simply you can say mget star. When I hit enter, you see for each file it is prompting this file. Now you have to say Y or N, yes or no. See guys, if 4 5 files are there, I can say yes or no. But suppose if I'm downloading 10,000 files, is it feasible to say yes or no for 10,000 times? Not possible. So what I'll do is I will disable that questioning or prompting. To enable or to disable prompting, see if you run status command, it is telling you that prompting is on. To disable prompting, you have to say prompt command. When you say prompt, it says interactive mode is off. Now you run status command, it tells you that prompting is off. Again, if I use prompt command and now check the status, prompting is on. So prompt is a single command to enable or disable prompting. If it is already enabled, it will disable. If it is disabled, it will enable. Single command to do both tasks. So I will disable it. And now if I run mget star, you see it will not ask a question for a single file. All the files are downloaded successfully. So this is the way how you can work with FTP connectivity and all. Now suppose your work is over and you want to quit FTP connectivity. To quit, you can type quit command, or you can use Control D shortcut, or most common command to quit FTP is bye. We'll say bye and it will say goodbye. So this is the way how we can work with FTP and download the data. Now let us see how to make FTP to upload the data also. For example, I have an FTP server, and on that FTP server, I want to allow people to store their personal data. So as of now, we just made FTP server for downloading, and it was very simple affair. We installed the package, we kept some data, we made a small config change, started the service and added in firewall. But when you say upload, when I say upload, people will be putting their data into our system. So from outside, data will be coming to your system. Now that would be an area of concern for security. We don't want just a free throw fare that anyone is coming and uploading the data. So here there are some restriction, some security measures that we have to take. First of all, we'll go to var FTP location, and in FTP location you can see we have public directory where people are coming and downloading the data. So people can connect and download the data. I don't want to disturb that directory. In addition to pub, we'll create one more directory with the name UPL maybe. Now in this directory, I want people to upload the data. See, name of the directory is your choice. I'm using UPL. You can use any name of your choice. Now just make sure that this directory has full access or at least write access for others. Why? Because root is the owner of the directory and root is the group owner. So guys, root is allowed to connect through FTP? No. Then a normal user cannot access the directory that belongs to root if you don't give read and write access. So in fact, I'll give full permission so that everyone can come to this directory and they can read write data inside it. Okay, so I have given full access. All right. Now let us log in as another client and let's try to put some data inside it and we'll see will it work or not. It's not that much simple, obviously. So I created a directory UPL and we have given full access. One more thing we can do is let us keep owner root only, but for better workability of FTP, you should change the group of this directory to FTP group. See, when you install VSFTPD package, automatically there will be a user created with the name FTP and there will be a group also created with the name FTP. Right? So I want to assign this group to my directory. How to change the group of any file or directory? We have to use chgrp. Change group to FTP for UPL directory. Now, if you just check it out, it is showing you that UPL directory belongs to FTP group. So we created a directory, we changed the file permissions, and we have also changed the group of the directory. Now let us go to client. And on the client, first of all, I'll go to that location where I have some data which I can upload. So here I'm having some data which I can upload. So what I'll do here is I'll go for um, connectivity FTP 192.168.10.20. I'll connect with FTP user. Type any password or leave it empty. Now you do ls. This time it is showing you two directories, pub and UPL. By using UPL, you can log in and upload the data because it is having full access. So let me go to cd UPL. It shows you the directory and now I'll try to put some data. On the client side, I have many files. Any file you can choose and upload. To upload any file, we uses the command put. What is the file name? File1. You see it says permission denied. Now guys, why we are getting this? See, as a security measure, FTP will keep anonymous user restricted from uploading the data. As anonymous user, we are only allowed to download, but putting the data will not be allowed. So what we can do here is we can go back to server. Let me log out. I'm using Control D to log out. Now go back to server. White is our server. On the server, we need to go to config file etc vsftpd vsftpd.conf. Now, if you read this file, you will come across one line which says anonymous upload enable equals to yes. When it says anonymous upload enable equals to yes, then why it is blocking us? Because this line is starting with hash. That means this line is commented. It's not a real active option. So it says over here, uncomment this to allow anonymous FTP user to upload the file. So let me come up here and I'll delete that hash. So now that line is active. Let me save and quit. Whenever you made any change in the config, mandatorily you must reload or restart the service. In case of VSFTPD, reload will not work. So I'm going with restart. Now once we are done, we'll go back to client side. On the client side, we are already in the location where we have some data. Now let me connect to the server. I'll connect with FTP anything or leave the password. Now we'll go into UPL. In UPL there is nothing. Client side I have some files. Now let me try uploading one of the file. Put file 1. You see now the error changed to could not create a file. It is not telling us that permission denied because now permission is granted. In the config we have told that allow this action. It says okay. So now that activity is allowed, but there is something who is blocking you not to upload the data. Now who might be that? See, this fellow is nothing but your SE Linux. Now guys, if you have a doubt on SE Linux, there used to be a command guys, SE troubleshoot D. Okay, so you see here it is telling you that the connectivity is blocked. Connectivity is nothing but uploading is blocked. Why it is blocked? Because policy changes are there. Because of that, it is not allowing us. Right now, if we go to var log messages, right, you will find over here it is telling you that SC troubleshoot D is telling us that it is preventing FTP to write the directory. Moreover, here it is giving you some hint. It is telling you that VSFTPD will be able to share public content, right? It is telling you that on the directory, you should change the context to what? Public content read write underscore T. How we can change that? It is telling us that maybe you can use a command se manage f context and change the boolean this concept like that, right? And also it is telling you to have boolean changes. Two booleans you should change, that also it is telling you. Anyway, I'll make it more simplified. It says that we should change the context of the directory. Which directory? UPL. So here we are giving public underscore content underscore T, right? So it is asking us that we should change it. If you go back and read the var log messages, it is telling you that we should change the context to public underscore content underscore read write and then T. Okay, and it is asking us to allow FTP anonymous write boolean and FTP full access boolean. These two things it is asking us to do. So let me go back and sorry, let me go back and first of all, if I check the context of this directory, it is public content. We just need to add RW to it. How to change the context? You can use se manage f context, this command, or we can use the most simple command chcon -t, right? And I would like to change it to public underscore content underscore RW and then T. For which directory? UPL. So here the problem was with SE Linux, and SE Linux is blocking it. Now you have a choice that you can disable SE Linux and make sure everything works. For example, If I go to other side, it still says could not create a file. So what I'll do is I'll say set enforce 0. Check it out, get enforce, it is permissive. That means almost SE Linux is not working. Now, if I go back now and again say put file, did you see it is okay to transfer the data? So data is getting uploaded as soon as you disable SE Linux. But guys, do you think your organization will take such a risk for one application to work? They will disable entire security of your system? Definitely not. So we are not going to compromise with security. Now, if I go back and again try to upload one more file, it will stop blocking. So scenario is I want to keep SE Linux running, but at the same time, I want people to upload the data. So first step inside it I have done is I change the context of the directory. Now only changing the context of the directory is not going to help you. So it was also telling us to change some Boolean values. See, if you go back to etc vsftpd vsftpd.conf. Now here we made our last change, anonymous upload. Now here you can see there is a line when SE Linux is enforcing check or change the Boolean values. What Boolean? Allow FTP anonymous write. This Boolean should be allowed and FTP full access. These two booleans must be allowed in order to allow anonymous user to upload the data. First thing, the log file told us what? That we should change the context. So we have already changed the context and added RW into the context. Second thing, if you go to get se bool -a and grep for FTP, so you'll see over here we are having FTP anonymous write and FTP full access. These two booleans must be changed to on permanently. So I'll say set se bool permanently. I want to change FTP anonymous write to on. And again, one more time, I would like to run set se bool, and this time I would like to change FTPD full access to on. See, in a single line, when you want to run two commands, then you can write first command, semicolon, second command. So two times I repeated set se bool, first time for anonymous write and second time for full access. Now, if you go back and check it out, you'll find that FTP anonymous write is on and FTP full access, it's also on. So first of all, you should change the context of the directory, and secondly, we need to enable two booleans, anonymous write and full access. Now if I go to client and try to upload the data, you see transfer is completed. So SE Linux is active on the server side and you're able to upload the data also. So this is the way how we can make an FTP server to accept the data from the client only in a specific directory. Now guys, if you want to upload multiple data, you need to say prompt to disable inactive mode. Now you can use a command mput. Like mget, you have mput to upload multiple files. So I'll say input, in fact, I'll say star. So you see all the data, what you had on the client side is uploaded over here, all the files. If you try to upload directory, it will fail. Okay, now I'll go back to server. I'll go into UPL and you see all the data that you have transferred from the client is available over here, right? Fine. And if you check uh, the details about the file, all the file belongs to FTP user and FTP group. Okay, all right. Now guys, we can connect to same FTP server through Windows also, right? You can say command line cmd. On command line, you can say FTP and IP address 192.168.10.20. Here also you can connect with FTP. You can type whatever password you want to type to continue, or just leave it empty. It will allow you to connect. Now you see, you are able to see public directory, UPL directory. You can go to public directory and you can download the data, right? You can go to my data and download same thing. And once your work is over, you can say bye. It will leave you out. So even on Windows command line, this option would be working. Now, one more thing, guys. Let us say that I would like to connect with some other user to FTP server. See, up till now, we were connecting with FTP user only. Let us say on the server side, I'm having many users. I have my user, U1, U2, U3, any user I can take and I can connect. Suppose I want to connect with my user. Can I connect it? Definitely. You just need to say FTP 192.168.10.20 and you can type your desired username. And you should use the password of my user mandatorily. You cannot leave it empty here. So if you know the password, type the password, you will be logged in and you will be logged in /home my user location. That's the home directory of my user. So here you can get the data or you can put whatever data you are having. For example, on my current location, I have a file called initial setup. So I can say put that initial setup file and you see it got uploaded where in the home directory of my user. And from here you can download anything. Now let us say same way I would like to connect with root user. But when you try to type the root name, it simply says that permission denied. Now guys, why permission is denied? Because on the server side, in FTP user control files, root user is blocked. So suppose I want to allow FTP to permit root access. We don't generally do this, guys, for security reason, but if you want to allow people to connect with root user, then go back to server and you can go to etc vsftpd. See, our main config is vsftpd.conf and here there are two files, ftp users and user list. Let me go to ftp users. You see there is a heading here, users that are not allowed to log in via FTP, which is the first user, root. So this is the reason why root user is not allowed. So let us come up over here and comment that line. You can delete the line or comment the line and save and quit. Now I'll go to our second file, which is user underscore list. Here also it is telling you that for users which are denied. Now, which is the first user denied? Root user. Same thing you have to do here. Both the files, either comment it or delete that line. Now, any change in the config, you must restart the service. So I'm just simply recalling the last command which start with sys. So last time I used sys as systemctl restart. So that command is executed. Now let me go back to client. Last time when I tried to connect, it denied the permission. Now I'll type root user. Is it denying me? No. Last time there was permission denied, but now it says type the password. So if I know the password, I'll type the password, and you see you will be landing into the home directory of root user. Now as a root, you are allowed to go anywhere in the system. Maybe you can go to OPT, OPT folder, and here you can put any data, you can download any data. Maybe I want to download etc.tgz. So I can say get etc.tgz, right? Or if you have any file, you can upload it. Maybe I want to upload FTP1. So I can say put FTP1. So as a root, you are allowed to upload, download data anywhere you like. Now guys, how we have unblock root. Same way, maybe I want to block my user. I don't want anyone to be allowed to connect with my user. As of now, my user is free to connect, but I want to block my user from connectivity. To block my user, I need to go back again to server under etc vsftpd, and both the files we have to mention the name of that user. So I'll go to FTP users, I'll open a new line, and I'll say my user. Same behavior I'm going to do in user underscore list file. Go to user list, open a new line, and put my user's name to block it. Any change in the configuration file, never forget to restart the services. Now go back to client. Last time my user was able to connect very nicely. Now if I try to connect and give my user's name, immediately it would come up with permission denied. So this is the way how we can block users from connecting to FTP server this way. Okay, so this is all about your FTP server and dealing with FTP server. One more thing is there on Windows. If you want, you can use some tools to connect to FTP. Like we have WinSCP. Same way you have FileZilla, MobiXterm. Many softwares are there that would allow you to connect to remote machine in FTP mode or SCP mode also. Especially we use generally SCP to transfer some data from Windows to Linux machine. But if FTP is configured, you can use FTP also. So you can connect to that server by using IP address 10.20, right? And you can type a username and password to use, or just select anonymous login. Say login, so it got connected. You see, left side is your client side and right side is your server side. So probably you can go to public directory, my data, and any file you want to download, you can just drag and drop it. Just drag it from here and drop it. It will be copied, right? And if you want to upload the data, go back to UPL, and from here you can drag and drop the data. Only files are allowed to be uploaded. If you try to upload the directory, it might not work. Okay, so this is the way, guys, we can work with these tools also in order to upload, download the data. Okay, that's it, guys, from my side with FTP server. Now if you have any questions or queries, you can put your questions now.
Said to access this FTP server from Windows machine, do we need
Mhm.
to use only command prompt or we can go with the file explorer?
File Explorer, that what we have used, you can use that. That is purely your choice, Manoj, what you want to do. You can go with
But
command line also or that Explorer also. That is also fine.
so then in that case, this FTP will allow us to authenticate. Sorry, this Windows Explorer will ask us to enter the credentials there.
Windows Explorer, I mean, I did not understand exactly how Windows Explorer work. I'm not that good at Windows end. I'm telling
Yeah.
you that you can use command prompt or you can use that third party tool. Directly from Windows Explorer, I don't know whether it will work or not.
Okay. Fine, Manish. Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome. So Jose has a question that how can we change a port number if we want to change? Then dear, you need to go to configuration file, that is vsftpd.con, and inside it you need to search for port related line. Right here you have to search and you need to pass a parameter that you want to go with a different port number. So over here search for port related line and change that line, but by default whatever we are using is good. I'll show you changing the port number in some other configuration. FTP is little sensitive, sometimes it might give issues if you change that default port number. But in the configuration, you can add a port line, port equals to whatever port number you want, and it might allow you to use with that port. We'll see changing the port number in web services. Okay, I think we are good to stop the session here. So tomorrow, day after tomorrow, guys, we don't have a class. We'll meet on Monday as per US standard and Tuesday as per Indian standard. So practice these things, guys, and we'll continue with next server in our next class. Thank you very much, guys. Have a nice weekend.
Thank you.